Greetings everyone, welcome to a new video. This time I'm building a bookshelf powered speaker and it's gonna run on Bluetooth. I'm gonna show you an interesting way how I found out to do that. But let's get started with building the speaker enclosure itself. Here you can see me cutting up very badly some laminated oak, I think it is, that I got from the hardware store. This is all that I could find, and since the speaker was actually a gift to one of my friends for his birthday, I decided I want to make it fancy, I guess, by making it out of oak. It was quite expensive, the oak, to be honest, but here we are. And because I don't have a shop or anywhere I can build these kind of things, I was just using a basic table, a garden table, to cut up the wood with my little circular saw. So that's me fumbling through it. To be honest, not everything came out straight and or to the correct dimension, but I got it close enough. Considering this is the first time I used a circular saw and basically building anything with wood, I'm quite happy with it. And this is a reiterative process, just building more and more and more until I get good at it. So once the cutting is out of the way, we're going back to the bench and trying to fit everything together. For this purpose, I'm using these corner clamps, 90-degree clamps. I don't know how exactly you would call them. They're quite cheap, but they're really useful. They helped a lot, especially since I'm alone, and keeping things tied together is quite difficult, since again, it's just a basic table that I'm working on. I don't have any special equipment for working with wood, so these little cheapo clamps came in quite handy and held everything in place while I screwed everything down. This being laminated oak, also one of the pieces broke in half, so I had to glue it together where the lamination point was, but it was okay in the end since I decided to paint the speaker black. Well, you see actually, you've seen it in the thumbnail, but you'll see a little demonstration at the end how it turned out and how it sounds. So these clamps were helping me hold everything in place while I screwed everything down. And at the beginning, I honestly wanted to make the whole speaker come apart whenever I wanted to. At the end, turned out I really didn't. I should have thought of it ahead of time, but I didn't. Only the front should have came out whenever I needed to. So for that reason, I'm using these threaded inserts for wood. So you basically just drill a hole, screw it into the wood. It's gonna show up a little bit later in the video. And in that you can screw in some regular bolts. So it makes everything easier to take apart later. But I overthought it and, well, didn't need for the whole box, just from the front piece, in case I do need to get back inside to it. Here I'm trying to do as good as a job as I can, again considering it's a gift, and I'm measuring everything out, the spacing between the screws, so it looks somewhat decent. So I'm just screwing through both of them to make sure I'm getting straight. Then on the other side, I'm drilling a bigger hole where these threaded inserts will go, wood threaded inserts. I'll put a picture on the screen now so you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, you just tighten them with an Allen wrench. Most of them come with, if you buy like a set or something, most of them come with an Allen wrench where you can tie them down to the wood. And inside I think it's a M3. Yeah, it's an M3 basic screw, which I've used. They come in different shapes and sizes, but for the thickness of board that I had here, which is about 21 millimeters, I think, 18 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. This seemed about right. So yeah, just screw them in. And before screwing everything in, I also countersunk the screws with the screw holes with a little countersink bit, so everything will stay somewhat flush and look reasonable. And this side you can see how the wood cracked a little bit. But I'm not worried about it. At the end I used some wood putty to hide some of the crimes, especially my crimes. But yeah, I'm trying to keep everything at a relative distance from each other. Makes everything looks good, looks professional, even though I'm obviously not a professional. But, you know, I'm quite happy with it, how it came out. I'm using a little piece of tape for for the drill bit so I can see how far I'm going, so I don't go too far. Not that anything would happen, but I'm not quite confident in my drilling skills, or sure that I'm drilling at a 90-degree angle, which obviously I wasn't for all of them, but it turned out okay. There's some things that you can adjust and, well, basically push into place until they look okay. So yeah, because of the threaded inserts, they're a different diameter. I had to drill the holes on the inside with a larger drill bit. When you are doing this, make sure, if you are doing this, make sure you're drilling in the center of the hole. Otherwise, the screws from the other side, the bolts from the other side, will not come into the right place, and you'll have a difficult time putting everything together. One of them, I think I got a little bit off center, not exactly in the middle, one of the threaded inserts, so it was quite a pain in the butt to fix it together, but I managed in the end. Hand tightening everything. Doesn't need to be super tight, just as long as it doesn't move. This wood is already dry and pressure treated, so it's not going to move anywhere. This is the top, and again, same idea goes. Spacing, make it look professional, make it look like it has a purpose, not like you're throwing screws at it to see where they stick. Again, threaded inserts, but at some point I was literally running out of bolts for all the things, so I just decided to put random normal wood screws into another panel since I was running out. But I should have done that from the beginning and just kept the front cover where the speaker is with the threaded inserts in case I do need to remove and do some repair work, or to be honest, I wasn't confident that it was going to work that well, as well as it does. So that's why I was worried mostly about being able to open it again. One of the panels, the back panel, didn't exactly fit since my woodworking skills are, well, not up to par. So I'm using one of these routers to shave like maybe 2 or 3 millimeters off the side so it fits. This is also the side that's split, what I stuck together with wood glue. That's why it has that nasty thing on it, but I didn't get a chance to sand it down just yet. I'll do that later. So yeah, making sure it fits, and with a little bit of conviction and realizing that you can do it easier from the other side, it all fit very nicely actually. And here I'm marking for the back side. Again, I'm just marking the spacings, and for this side I'm gonna use normal wood screws. So you drill first and then you screw in the screws so you don't split the wood, since it tends to do that if you screw directly into it. You can get away with really fine screws, but not in this case, they're not that small. So I'm just running along the sides and doing what I should have done from the beginning, which is use normal wood screws. Countersinking everything, making sure it looks neat. Cleaning up the mess a little bit. One of the sides was somehow out of square, so I had to remove a little bit out of it. Didn't do a perfect job, but at the end I used some wood putty to fill up all the holes and everything, and it turned out great, as you'll see in a bit. At this point I decided I'm going to install the hardware before I install the front cover for the speaker. And keen-eyed viewers would have already have noticed that this is not the correct size. This is not the back of the speaker, this is the top, but being in a rush, like I usually am, I didn't realize that. So here's me measuring the bass tube for the wrong side of the speaker. Just basically measuring, making sure it's center, and it looks neat again. That's a USB plug that runs from 12 to 24 volts. Because the way I built this speaker, I don't want to put the Bluetooth receiver inside the speaker, just in case you want to use it with another power source, like your TV or radio or literally anything else that you want to use it with. I didn't want to put the Bluetooth speaker in and make it more complicated with turning it off in case you want to attach another input to it. So I'm using a USB plug. I think this is an automotive one. Like I said, it runs from 12 to 24 volts. And I'm going to use a USB Bluetooth receiver, one of these little cheapo things, which actually are really good. I'm going to use it to power it. And well, you can also charge your phone and whatever else you might need with this plug here. So I really like these things. I already used them in a few other projects, and they're not that expensive and quite useful. So just measuring everything, making sure it fits nicely, screwing it down before I realized that I'm in the incorrect panel to do this kind of job, but I was already a bit too late. That's the speaker terminal that I'm using, and again, it's a cheapy thing. I think it was like $1, and a half, something like that. Don't need much for this thing especially. I'm not any kind of audiophile, nor is this speaker, even though the sound is actually quite good and I'm quite happy with it. In order to make room for the cables for this kind of wire terminal that I've used, I'm just gonna drill right through it and attach the wires on the other side so they fit. Well, at this point I realized that I made a mistake, and I'm gonna abandon this part and take everything out and start on the correct side, which is this one. This would be the back of the speaker. Again, same idea, measure everything, drill it out. I'm not gonna explain it again since, well, it's exactly the same thing I did on the other side. For power, I'm using an old laptop power supply rated 20 volts, around 5 amps, more than enough for what I have here. So I bought online this plug connector, this barrel jack, the nicest one I could find. It still wasn't that expensive. I think it was like $2 or something like that, made out of metal, because my plan was, because I cannot use any kind of panel mount jacks, which are quite common and made out of plastic and cost dimes. I cannot use it because the wood is too thick. I decided to drill a hole, which is the exact same size as the plug, which usually doesn't work well, but I used that to my advantage and basically just use the jack, the jack as a screwing it in directly into the wood, so it makes a friction fit and it's not gonna go anywhere from there. As far as the electronics go, I'm using an amplifier based on a mono amplifier based on the TPA 3118. Again, quite cheap, like $3, but I'm quite surprised with the power of this thing. So I'm just, it came without a heatsink, so I'm just attaching a random heatsink with basically just thermal compound and a few zip ties, since I had no other way of attaching it, and I don't have any thermal glue or anything like that, and the board itself doesn't come with any provision for attaching a heatsink. I'm putting it on the back side since that's where it had a lot of true holes, and it looked like that's where it was intended actually to have a heatsink. This amplifier is really good, even with this puny heatsink. The first time we used it, I think it was running for like 4 or 5 hours outside in a garden, basically very far away from where everybody was sitting, running on full blast. Nothing overheated, didn't shut down, so I'm quite happy with this amplifier. Quite surprised at how powerful it is and how good it works. Here's a very professionally drawn 3D schematic of how I attached everything, so you can get an idea of it. I'm using speakers that already came with crossovers. I'll show you that in a second. I bought them, they're basically just car speakers to replace the speakers in your car. So that's what I'm using. Realized a bit too late that maybe I should have added a on-off switch on the back of the speaker, but it was already finished when I did, and my friend says he doesn't mind, he'll just unplug it. It's fine with him. But for the next one that I'm gonna build, because I am gonna build another one for another friend, I'm definitely gonna add an on-off switch on the back to make sure you can turn it off without unplugging the power supply from the laptop power supply that I have. So yeah, I'm just attaching everything, heat shrink, screwing all the panels down, soldering the wires to the plug adapter, heat shrink just in case, because again, I'm not that confident in all my skills, and using some of the longest pliers that I have to attach the barrel. I'm doing this now before I attach the front cover, the front part of the speaker, since it's gonna make it a lot easier to work rather than through the hole where the speaker would be. So I'm just doing it now to save myself some headaches down the road. Cleaning all the flux from the soldering. So these are the black things that you're seeing on the screen. Those are the crossovers from the speakers that I bought. And to keep everything tidy, I'm just gonna attach them to a little bit of foam board with some screws. Keeps everything in place, stops rattling around. So, well, And instead of attaching them directly to the wood, I decided this would be a much easier solution for me. And it did. Obviously turned out much easier. For some reason, the speaker set that I bought comes with two crossovers. I was pretty sure usually it's just one that includes low and high pass, or whatever the magic it is that crossovers do. If you don't know, what it basically means, it separates the audio and only sends the high tones, the high frequencies, to the tweeter, and the low and medium frequencies to the other speaker that I have in this case. As far as the bass tube on the back, I inspired as far as the bass tube on the back, I'm just ringing it out with one of these hole saws. For wood, they're really good. Even the cheap ones, they do a great job on wood. Wouldn't trust them on anything else, but they did a really good job. So just attaching it in place. I based my design on something that I found online. I think it's a speaker kit made by somebody and with real speakers and everything. I'll put a link if you're interested into it. But I'm definitely using different speakers and different build materials and stuff like that. You can see me here using some wood putty to fill up some of the little mistakes that I made. Some little holes that I have in the panels and slight little misfits between the panels. Again, first project, so not a bad idea. I'm gonna paint it anyway. If I would have left it just normal wood, then, well, I would have started from the beginning. But for me, for what it is, it's really good. Turned out really nicely, especially after I applied the paint to it. From the interior, I'm using just, I think this is car boot insulation, car speaker insulation, the kind that you put inside the car doors, I'm guessing. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, they come with a sticky backing, and I'm just fixing it down to the wood. This thing is really, really sticky. Once it's down, it'll never coming up, and if it does, it takes the whole foam with it. So I was having quite a bit of difficulty trying to fit it in without sticking it to each other, because even if it does stick to each other, again, it's just gonna tear apart. Kept hitting my head on the camera, that's why some of the footage is a bit shaky, especially the over the top, over the head footage. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's my little electronics board. So I'm just gonna screw it into the bottom, directly into the wood, just with some very, very tiny screws that I found. Make sure everything stays in place and it doesn't vibrate inside. Again, I was worried about heat with this little puny amplifier and the little heatsink that I put on top that I barely installed with some zip ties, but I'm really happy at how it turned out. It's really a great amplifier. From what I read online, it already has some thermal protection and stuff like that. So even if it does overheat, it should shut off by itself. But it hasn't happened yet, so I'm quite happy with it. Continuing everywhere with the acoustic foam and just sticking it, trying not to stick down over the wires, just in case since I might in the future, I might need to fix something, or if something breaks or anything, I might need to open it. And well, if you glue the wires behind the foam, then you'll have to reapply the foam. The base tube is nothing special. I wasn't worried about sound insulation around it, so I just literally just screwed it down with some screws, and that's about it. Again, turned out, for my ears at least, it turned out coming great, and the sound is really, really good, so I have no complaints about it. Now I wanted first of all to attach the front before I start drilling into it, so I know where to place everything. And I'm just using some basic packing tape and a few pieces of wood to make sure that it's kept center and flush to the front of the speaker, since in the back it's held tight by the foam that is already inside the speaker. Same idea goes. This is the only part where I should have used threaded inserts just for the front part in case I need to take it off. But lessons learned, for next version I'll make sure not to use threaded inserts only in the front. Same idea, just space it out as best as I can, make sure it looks reasonable and everything is equidistant from each other. Drilling the hole for the speaker, since these speakers were made for the car, it comes with an installation template with the exact dimensions and everything. So I'm just cutting it out with some pair of scissors. and I'm gonna use it as a template for drilling the hole for the big This is a neat trick that I learned a long time ago. I don't remember where. After I align the paper to make sure it's center in the wood panel, I'm just using a pencil to mark around it, and when I remove it, it's just gonna leave an outline for the thing that I need to drill out. To do that, I'm just using a normal reciprocating saw, however you might call it. Well, not a what's this thing called? A jigsaw, yeah, a jigsaw. I'm just using a jigsaw, not a very good one, but it did the job. Didn't exactly cut at a straight line, a straight angle. It was a bit off kilter, but nobody notices after the speaker is in place. For the tweeter, just a regular hole saw. One that matched that was the same size as the tweeter. And yeah, more threaded inserts and attaching the tweeter. The tweeter came with this rather clever mounting clamp, so it's gonna keep pressure on it all the time and keep it in place. Again, I'm not using any kind of sealant around it or around the woofer either. I wasn't worried about that, since I wasn't going for a, again, hi-fi speaker or audiophile quality, just going for a speaker that sounds decent without distorting. That's what. So yeah, attaching the front, making all the connection for the speaker, and again centering it and just drilling and screwing in place. At the end, I did drill around the speaker with my router to make it sync a little bit more, but I didn't get that on camera since somehow the footage was lost. Same with attaching the speaker feeds, or just speaker feed. I attached them with some screws, and that's about it. There's me in my dad's yard painting the speaker with just regular gloss, a black glossy wood paint. I give it after I sanded down all the wood filler and everything, make it look a little bit decent. I think I gave it around 3 coats by the end. I don't have a video with all the 3 coats, but you'll see it painted anyway. So yeah, just painting it. As far as I remember, you shouldn't paint in the sun. I don't remember why. Somebody tell me in the comments why, because I'm pretty sure there's a reason why you shouldn't paint in the sun. But I was doing it since it wasn't that hot anyway to begin with, but you still shouldn't do it in the sun. So yeah, just using a little brush for detail work, and then a small roller for the big side so I finish faster. And so it's a nice lovely day outside and a little bit windy. The paint dried really fast, so I could do like 2 coats in the same day. And here's the final speaker. This is at the end you're gonna hear how the speaker sounds like, direct pickup from my microphone. Do it as you will. I think it sounds really good, really deep, rich bass, not overpowering or anything. Treble and mid-range is decent again for my ears and for the space that it's going to be used in. So I'm quite happy with it. I'm happy how it turned out. I'm happy with the wood. I'm happy with the speaker. I'm happy with the amplifier. Everything turned out great, and I really can't wait to do this again. Which I am gonna do in a few months, but I'm not gonna film it, well, since it's gonna be basically the same, just looking a little bit more professional. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope I inspired you to build something of your own. Even if it doesn't come out looking perfectly, it's still gonna be yours and it's still gonna work. Just like the speaker, it didn't come out looking perfectly, but it works perfectly and I couldn't be happier with it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you for the next video.